Hey, it's John Shapiro, here we go. Knows the road rules better than most folks know. Ask your questions, bring the heat or keep it chill. He's got the answers and a license to spill. Ask a traffic cop, Sean's your guy. Breaking it down, no lie, no tie. Knows the stuff and things to keep you clear. Ask away, he's the voice you want to hear. Badge, now a podcast star, navigating traffic laws near and far. Stop sign confusions or a signal light feud. Sean's the one to give you the right attitude. Yeah, ask your traffic cop, Sean's your guy. Breaking it down, no lie, no tie. Knows the stuff and things to keep you clear. Ask away, he's the voice you want to hear. From this man. Ask a traffic cop, Sean's your guy. Breaking it down, no lie, no tie.
Oh, it's Wednesday, baby. Yes, we are back. I was here last night until the wee hours answering traffic and police questions because that's what I do. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who answers your traffic and police questions because I want to. I want to help you. Honestly, that's what I'm here for. So if you've got questions about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff, you're in the right place. If you don't have questions about those things, come up with some. They're not hard to figure out. Actually, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. It is hard to figure out. Otherwise, people would all be doing the right thing, and that's not what we're seeing on the road. We're seeing a lot of people doing it wrong. And people are sending me videos left, right, and center, examples of just how wrong people are doing it. And I get it. It's a lot of stuff to know. I happen to be a geek who likes this kind of stuff, studies it by choice. And you just want to get along with your life. And yeah, that's the thing. So good morning. I hope you're having a great day so far. It's early. It's 10 a.m. when we start this show. And the question is always whether or not we should be doing this at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., when a.m., because for the longest time, this was like an 8 a.m. thing. Then it became a 9 a.m. thing, and then a 10 a.m. thing. So what a.m. is the right a.m.? It depends on you. Just want to give a shout out to the magical folks at Diamond and Diamond Lawyers. They are supporters of the Canadian Organization of Better Traffic Safety and Education, which is the home of Ask a Traffic Cop. And people often say, well, why is it called Ask a Traffic Cop? Because you're not a traffic cop anymore. You're right. This show is called Ask a Traffic Cop, and I am the host of the show, and I am a former cop. See the disconnect? Doesn't make sense to rebrand it. However, the goal has always been to bring on currently serving traffic cops to come on and speak to the laws in their jurisdiction. And I can't think of a better reason than to do it now. That's not to say it's happening now. I'm just saying I can't think of a better reason. And that is I put up a video on Instagram that has over 600,000 views. Shocking, I know. It's only got like 12,500 on TikTok, which is not the usual metric. Usually things go bananas on TikTok and slow grow on Instagram. But that's not what happened here. It is because I have angered the American public. I talked about school buses and whether or not they can legally, or whether or not you need to stop when approaching oncoming school buses, or I guess when you're oncoming traffic to a stopped school bus with the overhead lights and stop bar out. I was shocked. Ohio is one of the examples that I am told repeatedly does not require you to stop as oncoming traffic if there's more than 4 lanes. Their description, their definition of what a divided highway is differs greatly from what ours is. For us, if there's no divider like the Highway 401, which is, I think, the best example, where you clearly have one-way set of lanes and another one-way set of lanes that are divided by a barrier, grassy knoll, some kind of obstruction, planter, Divider, it's divided. Painted line does not count, but for them, apparently it does. Let's see. We've got folks who are watching. Oh, by the way, again, thanks to Diamond and Diamond, as I went off on a tangent. We got lots of folks who have pumped into the Instagram live. Travis Woods, CHP123, Brian Lee, 324. A lot of numbers in here. The Real Walker, Texas Ranger, Ralpha. We've got Beer Bumper, Shell, Ryan, Paul, and Pashtet. We've got Streak Elite. Travis Wood says, "Hi, I got a question." We answer questions here. What's your question? And then Jassy Body says, "I saw so many people taking U-turn on red light. Is it legal? A U-turn on a red light? Now, where is the U-turn taking place?" We'll come back to your question, Jassy, in just a second. Cal Safe says, "Hey, sir, my name is Safe, and I am an international student who will be buying my first car. So what are the rules to be followed if I get pulled over?" Okay. We can, with Safe, we can talk about your question because I think it's a really good one. The Real Walker Texas Ranger says, "I don't think Ohio has many rules in general." That might be. My experience of Ohio, my Ohio experience is that I was driving through Ohio and there's no helmet laws there, so I pulled over, took off my helmet, and I rode for about one exit on the highway and then pulled over and put my helmet back on. So you might be right about the Ohio thing. Okay. Okay, Travis got pulled over, so we're going to talk about that. And stopping for stop signs on private property. Hey, if you're watching, regardless of where you're watching, please like and follow and share the content. So sharing the live, especially on TikTok, is a huge thing. And if you can tap the screen on TikTok to send likes for the live, brings more people to the party. The more people to the party, the more unique questions come in. And when there's more unique questions, well, you get to get answers to stuff you didn't even know you wanted answers to, because someone will inevitably ask a question that you wanted the answer to, even though you didn't know it. It's amazing how that works. Let me look over to the YouTube, which I didn't even have the chat open on YouTube. Julie says, "Good morning, Sean." Paul says, "Good morning, Sir Sean. Hello, all." And Brandon is here, who says, "Good morning, Sean and all. Was rear-ended." No, rear-ended in the ZR1 by an idiot on their phone. Come on. That car is, okay, how much damage? That car has how many kilometers on it? It's a brand new car, right? I'm so sorry. That is terrible. When you get something new, and Brandon just received delivery of that ZR1 at the Florida Corvette Museum, right? Orlando? Where was it? Either way, that is heartbreaking. I'm so sorry to hear that. Nicholas Rizzi says, "Yo." Specifically, that's his voice. "Yo." And and Brandon goes on to say, "What also scares me is the amount of commercial drivers I see on their phone, using their phone while driving. It is crazy." I may have told you the story before on a live, but I was investigating a collision where a construction worker was working a scene, like they were working on the road, and someone was running from the police and struck them. Now, that collision was tragic in itself, but a member of the trucking community came forward and said, "I might have dash camera footage of it." And you know what they did? But what they didn't realize when they were providing that wonderful dash camera footage to help our investigation is that they have a cab dash cam that was facing the driver, who, for the better part of 10 minutes driving up to the scene, so I was reviewing the whole thing, was on his phone in a dump truck. So I thanked him for his, contribution of important data for the collision being captured. I asked him, I was speaking to the owner of the trucking company. I said, "You might want to have a conversation with the driver." Greetings and salutations. Was too early, Akela. Welcome to the show. Akela is that magical man in his flight suit who is trying to organize going out for a meal before he moves. And I was just looking at that email, and yes, we'd need to do that possibly next week. Okay, let's go back. Let's talk about the questions that we've gotten, and then we'll get into more stuff and things, because that's how it works. This is an hour of just chatting and seeing where it goes. There's no structure, not really. Okay, so the first question was whether or not taking U-turns on a red light is legal, which I can tell you that if the red light, if you're crossing into the intersection to make the U-turn, then it's absolutely illegal. Look at my new mug. Maybe it's not so new, but it's a mug I like. Dad jokes loading. Yes, if you got dad jokes, throw them in. We'll read them at the end of the show. Just tag it with dad joke. Okay. If you're entering the intersection on a red light, you're breaking the law. If you're making a U-turn before you get to the intersection and the light is red, well, it depends. Is it safe to do so? Is there a sign prohibiting it? You see, all these things matter. And oddly enough, people tend not to pay attention to what the rules are, which is one of the reasons police have so many options when writing tickets. So, yeah, U-turns are dangerous. I was just interviewed by the Globe and Mail for an upcoming article related to U-turns. Are they legal? Depends. At the end of the day, if you're making a turn and a U-turn is just a big old turn, it's a left wheel with a left wheel, left wheel marching, that is. So if you do that and you cause a collision, you're 100% going to be a collision fault, even if the other person screws up too. Or you're 100, you may have a division of fault in the insurance index, but you're 100% at the catalyst for that collision. All right, let's move on to say to address Safe, who is an international student who will be getting his first car. So first of all, Safe, if you're in Ontario, and I assume you are, and you are an international student, you must get an Ontario driver's license. If you don't have an Ontario driver's license, you should not be driving in Ontario. And that is because you are a resident while you are attending school here, and your foreign license is not valid after 30 days, 60 days, 60 days. So if you're you can buy a car without a license, but you need to get insured locally and you need to have a local driver's license. Fast forward, what should you do if you're pulled over? Well, you're required by law to carry your license, ownership, and insurance, and you must surrender it upon demand of a police officer. And here's the thing. You have to follow all the rules. So follow this channel so you know all the rules and you can ask your questions. And we're doing this during the summer months, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. But you can always send in questions. You can email me at voiceovercop@gmail. You can go to askatrafficcop.ca, and at the webpage, you can actually send me voicemail. And let me load that up so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll go share my screen. Share. Okay, so we got askatrafficcop.ca, where you can hit links to learn about the great Canadian driving games, but you can also scroll through, find previous episodes, get to our YouTube channel, hit this button to follow us, and this is the button I was talking about, send voicemail. You go here, you leave me a voicemail message, I'll respond with a voicemail message, and might even use the clip for the show. It's a thing. All right, let's stop sharing the screen, because there's nothing I really need to talk about there at the moment. Okay. So let's move on. Hope that helps. If you got more questions, by all means, ask them. That's how this works for an hour whenever we go live. And last night was a lot longer. It was an hour and a half. Travis got pulled over because he was on the opposite side of the road because he was trying not to get, what is this? Okay, I'll read it verbatim. Hi, sir. My name is Travis, and I got pulled over because I was on the opposite side of the road because I was trying not to hit an animal on the road, but cop gave me a ticket for no reason given for it. Well, what was the ticket for? What charge was laid? I need to know what charge, because Travis, it's not enough to say I got a ticket. You had to have gotten a ticket for something. And driving into oncoming traffic may have been considered unsafe. Did you swerve into the road? Did they not see the animal? Did they charge you with careless? Like, tell me more. Ryan wants to know if there's an offense for not stopping at a stop sign on private property leading out to a public street. Depends on where you are. Now, if there's a stop sign and it's on, we talked about this last night, oddly enough. Were you there in the live last night? I know we talked about this. So if there's a stop sign on the public portion of the road, being the boulevard is public property, not private property, then yes, it's a regulated sign. But regardless of the sign, you're obligated to stop before crossing a sidewalk, at least in the city of Toronto, and you're obligated to yield to traffic on the road because you're exiting from a private drive, which would make you liable in the event of a collision as well. Travis Wood says, does Ohio have any laws? Jeez. Walker, Texas Ranger wants to know if it was a C7 or C8, the ZR1 that was collided with. Let's see here. The response is 1,200 miles on it, $23,000 to $30,000. 20 what? $23,000 to $30,000 in damage. It was delivered to the Corvette Museum in Kentucky. Sorry, Kentucky, not you've been in Florida so long. I didn't realize it was Kentucky. A brand new, it's hard. $23,000 to $30,000 of damage. Can they just get you a new one? And how many years do you have to wait for an order to come in for replacement? Can they do that? Do you even want the car anymore? That's disgusting. I'm sick for you. That's not okay. Hey, if you're just tuning in, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And if you want questions answered, because you got the questions, I generally have the answers. Ask them, and we'll talk about it. Okay. Kimberly Ann Benoit says, good morning, Sean. I am the supervisor for school crossing guards. Welcome, Kimberly Ann Benoit. Welcome to the show. Ask questions if you got them. Actually, I'm supposed to be talking at an event soon on the topic of school crossing guards. I'm assuming you're in Toronto, but maybe you're somewhere else. Let me know. I want to know more. Safe says, I'm in America. Does the same rules apply here? So Safe is the international student who wants to know about buying a car and operating that vehicle. So if you're in the United States, it depends on what state you're in. Every state has different rules, just like every province has different rules when it comes to international persons. And I'm going to assume that in most jurisdictions, you're going to need a local license because as a tourist, you can temporarily, as a visitor, temporarily, operate a motor vehicle. However, once you are a temporary resident, because you're renting a place to attend school and your period of time there will be longer than that of a visitor, depends on your status, depends on what the little piece of fluff flying here. It depends on what the status is, both as you stay within the country, you stay within the province, what their status is for, or criteria is for a resident. So you need to talk to your local authorities, unfortunately. What state are you in? What city are you in? I'm really curious to know, and maybe we can find out the answer with the assistance of me looking things up and determining it for you. But certainly the best source will be your local law enforcement and DMV for you guys. Okay, let's scroll down. We got Scott Doyle here, and we'll come back to Scott Doyle's question in a second because I want to see what's on TikTok. So I've ignored TikTok for the moment. Matt wants to know why muffler deletes are illegal. They don't hurt anyone. Well, it depends on what hurt is to you. Muffler deletes means you're removing the muffler, and the muffler and possibly resonator combination, well, that makes it less noisy. And I can tell you when I'm trying to sleep and I hear people with no mufflers, it's noisy as all get out. Now, think about businesses, homeowners, people whose hearing is impacted negatively because the vehicle with no muffler goes by and it's loud, or the baby that's trying to sleep and they can't because of you, or you wake them, or the meeting that you disrupt, or the telephone call of the pedestrian who's walking down the road. Just because you like the sound doesn't mean it doesn't hurt anybody. Noise pollution is a thing. It negatively impacts the quality of life in a city, anywhere. While lying in bed, can hear people with muffler deletes run up and down the country road not far from here. 2 kilometers, I still hear it as though they're right beside me. That negatively impacts me. So it does impact in a negative way. It doesn't necessarily cause blood to spurt out, but that doesn't mean it's not causing harm. And you have you plus 5 of your friends with muffler deletes, and it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious with one. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't sound cool for 5 seconds, but it ain't cool longer than that. All right. We got Wolf Gaming 4 says, question, I'm looking at an e-bike and was wondering at what point speed-wise is a license required? It's a great question. If you have, well, first of all, I must preface it, as I've offended so many Americans, by not specifying that we are not in America, and I'm speaking specifically to Ontario law. So if you've got an e-bike or you've got a question that is outside of Ontario, please specify where you're from in the question. It makes it a lot easier for me to get you the answer and ensure that we're on point. So here's the deal. If you're in the province of Ontario, in order to qualify as an e-bike and not a motorcycle, it must not be capable of traveling at speeds beyond 32 kilometers an hour without muscular interference. So if you can pedal 40 kilometers an hour, that's legal. But if you hit the throttle and you're just hitting the throttle to go and you're capable of going faster than 32 kilometers an hour, that is a motorcycle. That's it. That's the ticket. On a straight line, flat surface, more than 32 kilometers an hour. Now, 500 watt motor is the maximum wattage of power, but there are people out there with, 3,000 gigawatts, gigawatts. Back to the Future. Come on. And they're totally illegal. And they're doing 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour. They're on the highway. Those are motorcycles. Now, you also have to have a no more than 120 kilos of weight. It has to have functional pedals, things like that. But if you look at and I've got links to it at trafficcop.ca, check it out. The qualifications are linked to there. I got to go make sure all the links are the best links. We have the best links, but we got to make sure we have the best links and they're current. Let's see here. Troy Curry says, take 3 lives and get 8 years. I don't know if you're saying that's a good thing, a suggestion, if it's not okay. Listen, if someone is involved in a collision and they are deemed to be at fault for that collision, and it wasn't just an oopsie doo, because there are oopsie doos that end in people losing their lives, and it's tragic. Sometimes it's because people are involved in criminality or stunt driving, or which I would say at that point should be dangerous driving under the criminal code. It depends, and if the determination is that there was either premeditated, or when you get involved with impaired driving, I think that jail time and heavy jail time is appropriate. Someone destroying an entire family, and that would something that impacts entire communities, and they only get a slap on the wrist, and some would say 8 years is a lifetime, and others would say it's not long enough, and I'm assuming you don't think it's long enough. Alicia Sky says, you have the perfect voice for radio and podcast. Well, thank you, Alicia. I appear on radio and podcasts, so it's I appreciate that. Let's see here. We've got Kimberly Ann Benoit has a comment related to crossing guards. We'll come back to you in just a second. Kayla has sent a dad joke. Okay, Nicholas sent me a DM, which I can't look at right now, but I will check it out at some point. Oh, another dad joke. Cool. Let's see here. Ian JB says, are we required to pull over for first response vehicles? Like, just because they're there? Now, when you say first response vehicle, fire, ambulance, police with active lights and sirens going, yeah, you have to pull over for them. If they have lights and sirens, the law says you pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway, and you do it like pronto. You don't think about it. Well, you do think about it. You make sure it's safe to do so. But if you don't pull over, I think we charge a $350 fine in Ontario for it, or is it $450? It's not enough. Straight to jail. It's serious. You got to get out of their way so they can go help the world in their own special way. And you have green lights. That's volunteer fire or medic, and those people you don't have to pull over for, but you're a dingleberry if you don't, because you should let them go save the day. That's what they're doing. And I see there was a follow-up question, and Tracy started to respond. Tracy said, if the emergency vehicle is coming from the other direction, and there's a concrete divider. So here's the situation. If they're coming up behind you, yes, you have to pull over, regardless of what kind of road you're on. If it's oncoming traffic, it depends if it's a divided or undivided highway. So if you're on a highway, an expressway, usually those are the most often the easy to find examples of divided highways. Then oncoming traffic doesn't have to pull over unless it's just a painted line dividing, and then the emergency vehicle might be coming into your side of the road, at which point then you need to pull over. Okay. Wolf Gaming 4 is down near Windsor. Okay. So you're in Ontario, and this is the ticket for pulling over. Did I get that right? Let's scroll back and double check. Why can't I find your original comment? Stand by. Were you not the individual who got the ticket? Okay, I don't know. We'll come back. Explain me again. Was it the ticket for going on the opposite side of the road? Or maybe was that? Why is this on? Hang on. No, that was Ryan. No, that was Travis Wood. See, I am getting them confused. Okay. Let's see here. So let me, before I forget to answer Kimberly's question or read Kimberly's question, I noticed a lot of drivers still don't know the rules when crossing guards are in the crosswalk. They still make their turn. Can you maybe go over the rules they must follow in Ontario? Okay, this is really important. Crosswalks. People want to know whether or not you can cross through a crosswalk as a motorist when there's a pedestrian and at which point they're no longer being, or when you're no longer required to yield to them, and when you must wait until they're off the roadway. Now, there's a difference between crosswalks and pedestrian crossovers. Pedestrian crossovers are PXOs that have nothing to do with an intersection. They have overhead lights and they're clearly marked as PXOs, and those will require you to wait until all persons are off the roadway. Doesn't matter if they're past your half of the road or not. If they're on the road, you must wait. A lot of people don't understand that because I watch it every day. Now, if we're talking about the other side of the coin, the crosswalk that's related to an intersection, a signalized or unsignalized intersection, if the pedestrian has crossed your half of the road and there's no crossing guard present, then once they've passed your half of the road or past you, you would be safe to proceed with caution. And you're no longer required to yield to them. They've passed. They're no longer interested in your side of the road. And you could pass and cross through the crosswalk. However, if there's a crossing guard present, you are obligated to wait until all persons are off the road completely. Yes, people really don't get that. Okay, let me come back here. Thoughts on turnpike driver? Or are we talking about the guy that made the U-turn and killed a family? Is that the person who made the U-turn and they went out to the back? That driver is an idiot. It was a recipe for disaster from the moment he started making his turn. Tragic how it ended up. But there are people who should not drive, and that chap is one of them. Why do traffic cops use unmarked police vehicles when studies show the opposite works better? Well, works better for what? Traffic cops use unmarked police vehicles to catch people who are violating that would, not violate if they saw the cops. So what is it that is enforcement and teaching people, or is it allowing people to temporarily change their behavior to avoid detection and then go off and do the same bonehead maneuver 2 blocks away and then hurt somebody? See, the goal of enforcement isn't to make money. It isn't to temporarily reduce speed. It is to change driver behavior. That's what I was trying to say. It's to change driver behavior permanently. If I give you a ticket, you might change your ways. That doesn't work on everybody. Some people are really stupid, and they need lots and lots of enforcement and possibly to lose their license for good, or to have insurance that's $9,000 a year or more. Now, in the event that the honest person slows down because they see a police vehicle and never speeds again, I would think that's a miracle. I think people need, if they're violators, to get an unfortunate slap that stings, and that slap is in the form of a ticket. And if they don't get it, then the system will then tracks their behavior and eventually takes away their license. That's why cops use unmarked vehicles, because we catch you doing stuff while you're doing stuff thinking you're safe. That hats away, mouse will play scenario. That's why. Boss Hog, great name. Dukes of Hazzard, I'm assuming. Have you covered anything about the Florida accident? Well, first of all, there's no accidents. They're collisions caused by somebody who done screwed up. In terms of covering, are you talking about that? Is that the U-turn with the semi? I haven't, other than what I just spoke about. This is the first time we've addressed it on the show. Trucking industry is very dangerous. Too many people were caught. Sorry, so many people bought their AZ driver's license. Troy, that is the allegation, and I'm sure it's accurate. I think there's a lot of reality there, that people who should not be licensed are licensed, and whether it's through straight up fraud and criminality where they're buying licenses, which is, if we find out that takes place, we should. It shouldn't just be a slap on the wrist. I'm really a big fan of the concept of heavy-handed enforcement there, whether it be straight to jail or some kind of monetary thing. If you are caught putting people on the road as the person who's facilitating that criminal who's taking money to put people through the system who shouldn't be there, especially in a situation of a commercial driver, that person needs to be hung out to dry. Just saying. Travis Wood wants to know if Texas has any road laws that I should be aware of when it comes to driving on the highway. I'm sure. Well, okay. Does Texas have any road laws I should be aware of? All the road laws of Texas you should be aware of. If you're driving in Texas, are you a Texas licensed driver? Get the handbook. Read up on their traffic code. Now, I will say that Texas has an extremely high rate of collision and serious injury, so much so that they're putting billions of dollars into education and enforcement, which I support entirely. But I could not, off the top of my head, tell you all of the Texas laws. But maybe we should get a Texas cop on the show to talk about Texas law. So if there's an interest in talking Texan, I'm interested in talking more about it. I'll make a note, and maybe I can reach out to some of my colleagues in Texas. Andy has cats. How many cats do you have, Andy, that you made a username about it? Where are you located out of? Also, how much do traffic rules between Canada and the U.S. differ? I'm based in Toronto, Canada, which is the province of Ontario, where I used to work as a police officer. And the rules, the general rules, are very, very similar. So much so that when you become if you were to move to the United States as a Canadian, you could trade your license in and just get a full license. And vice versa, if you're an American coming to Canada, you trade your license in. So they're almost identical, but not identical. And they're not identical in things like school bus, rules and regulations. And they're not identical when it comes to the consequences for certain things. For instance, stunt driving, if you do 40 over in a speed area, first of all, it's kilometers versus miles. But if you're caught speeding 40 kilometers over a speed limit that is under 80 kilometers, you're stunt driving. You're going to lose your license for 30 days. You're going to lose your car for 14. You're going to go to court immediately or soon. You're going to get a part 3, a 104 that sends you to court. It's a summons to appear. You're going to defend yourself, and if you are to be convicted, or if you should be convicted, you're looking at a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition, and it's a bad day at the office. But if you look at rules like in Pennsylvania, seatbelts are a secondary offense. They can't write you a ticket for a seatbelt unless you're caught doing something else, which is really wild. They have primary and secondary offenses. So the rules differ in terms of how they're enforced and what the consequences are and what triggers are serious versus not. That's where it differs. The basic rules of the road, they are the same. Basically. Let's see here. Oh, Hockey Dad 91 says, hey, your favorite East Coast driving instructor is popped in. He says, if my engine brakes fail, can I cut a hole in the floors and Flintstone it? Ryan, I missed you, buddy. Good to see you here with your new name. That throws me off because it's not your name. We got to talk. Let's see here. Hockey Dad says, have you seen Arizona Deputy Frank Slope on YouTube? I've spoken, by text to Frank. Fridays with Frank is awesome. I think they've wrapped up the show, or we'll be wrapping it up shortly, which is sad. New sheriff, new rules, I guess. But I've been talking about going to visit Frank for a long time, and I need to actually make that happen. I've just not made it down to Arizona yet. All right. We've got Genuine Franken, it's cut off. I can't tell if that's the whole name or part of the name. Red light ticket, 1.8 seconds into the intersection, $300 plus new driver. Do I have hopes to get it reduced? Well, first of all, Genuine, I got to tell you that it's not against you as the driver. It's against the registered owner. It's a financial impact. It is not a slight on your license. It doesn't change your insurance. It doesn't have any real impact in your life other than $300. You can go to court. You can say, I'm guilty, because evidently you are, or at least the person who was driving the vehicle caused the vehicle to violate. Thus, as the registered owner, you are responsible. You can go and say, I'm totally responsible. The car did what it did. You got a photographic evidence of it. However, money's tight because we're in Canada and finances suck here, which means that you don't have the money to pay. You want to take responsibility, but you can't afford it. You got to pay bills. You got to feed your kids or your dog or whatever it is. And you're looking for either a payment plan or you're looking for a reduction in the fine. That is something you can ask. You don't need to hire someone to do it. Just go and talk to the prosecutor or talk to the justice of the peace when you appear in court. And very often they will either reduce the financial obligation. I've seen it as low as $40, and or they'll say, no, it's $300. We're not budging, but we'll give you a year to pay it, and you can pay it on monthly installments. So that's something that you can take into consideration or think about and make your decision. Could you fight it and win? They have photographic evidence. I think you would have a difficult time making a case as to why you weren't where it said you were in the photo. Just saying. The snow plowing something or other says, can a police officer stop you while walking and ask for ID? They can stop you while stopping, while you're walking, while you're sitting. You said ask for ID. They can ask anything. Do you have to give it to them? Not necessarily. And it depends on whether or not you're being investigated for an offense, why you're being investigated. They could ask you and you could say yes, and it would be fine. But if you don't want to give it, depends. Did you do something? Now, a lot of the folks on the internet, the freedom folks who say, "Do you have an articulable cause?" and blah blah blah. Okay, you don't need just to ask the question. You don't need to, but whether or not you're there and they're investigating you for a thing is a thing. We used to do stuff called carding. We used to ask people and write their information down all the time, and then it was seen to be unacceptable behavior to record information. And now what happens is an officer can say, listen, I'm involved in an investigation. You're not a suspect. If you're a suspect, things change, right? But we'd like to get your information so we can exclude you. So we get, and if you're okay with it, we're going to write it down. It's part of the conversation. But yeah, we can ask anything. We can also ask you how your day is going. We can ask all sorts of things. Wrench Monkey, can you please educate drivers on how to use a roundabout? Oh my God, one of my biggest pet peeves is roundabouts. Listen, going into the roundabout, you must yield to those already in the roundabout, which is basically the first problem because nobody understands that. They just hammer down and go into it, and it's Russian roulette every time. I'm playing chicken as I approach other vehicles, and I'm a good chicken player. If they hit me, I'm going to get it on camera. They're going to pay for me because I'm generally going to not change course to allow the person who's an idiot to get in a roundabout situation. If I'm there, yield to me, damn it. That's the rules. Now, you don't have to signal going in, although commercial drivers tell me they're trained to. The road is going straight. There's nowhere else for you to go. Why would you signal? You're not turning. And what you do need to do is signal your intention to exit. If you're making the next turn to the right, signal. Let people know what's going on, both for the people who are deciding whether or not they're going to play chicken with you, but also because it's required by law. Okay. What are the chances of fighting a distracted driving ticket at a red light, not texting or calling? If you're holding the phone, this is mom in Alberta. Now, I can tell you that in Ontario, if you're holding the phone, the courts have supported that. In fact, if you've got it on your lap, the courts have supported that as use because you were about to use it or you've just used it. It should be in a holder attached to the dashboard or the center console or not being used at all. But if you were holding it, they determined use. Now, could you make an argument? You make an argument all you want. What are the chances? I don't know. I don't know. Now, distracted driving tickets in Alberta are a whole lot different. They're different because distracted driving could be drinking water, according to my friend from Alberta. And there's so many different ways. So I need to know more. And I am not an expert in Alberta, the Alberta courts. I don't know how I've not looked at their case law. I don't know if they're getting convictions for people who are blowing their nose. Like, it's just different there. So, I mean, many would say fight everything. I'm generally someone who says, if you're guilty, pay it, move on, learn from your mistake. But it really depends. What were you doing? Troy says, too many people are getting killed by truck drivers that shouldn't even be driving commercial trucks. I agree. Oh, okay. Wolf Gaming says, now I understand. Wolf Gaming was asking about the e-bikes and what qualifies. Gotcha. Yeah, he's by Windsor. So you qualify for the whole Ontario thing we talked about earlier. Darcy Darcy Reassembled says, can we make lane splitting illegal for motorcycles? Some people open their car door in traffic. Well, it's already illegal. Lane splitting is not legal anywhere in Canada and is only legal in 5 U.S. states. So it's already illegal, but so is, dealing drugs. We have lots of people doing that. Making laws doesn't correct behavior, sadly. Heavy enforcement and police presence tends to do better. But it's already against the law. Not only is it against the law, they could go by way of careless driving, stunt driving, or even criminal dangerous driving for those who lane split. Okay. What I'd like to see is making it clearly illegal for bicycles because they're doing it too. Kimberly, you're very welcome. She was just thanking me for talking about the whole crosswalk thing. She's a supervisor in the crossing guard biz. Hockey Dad says, haha, love the Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of the best television shows that I don't watch anymore. I haven't watched it in ages, but I really, really would belly laugh when I watched it. Scott Doyle's got a second question. We'll come back to you in a second, Scott. Oh, interesting. King Bader says, my question is too big to fit. And he's sad about that. I can tell you that if you go on to LinkedIn, where we're also streaming, YouTube, Facebook, actually Facebook streaming is not working right now because they've changed their threshold. You need more followers. I think you need 1,000 Facebook followers, and I don't have 1,000 Facebook followers. In any case, if you were to go on to LinkedIn or to YouTube, you can ask larger questions. You can also email me by way of email. You can go to voiceovercop@gmail.com. You can also go on to the magical www. What is it called? askatrafficcop.ca. Yeah. And you can leave me a voicemail message there, links to everything. And if you're there, while you're there, please follow me on YouTube, because on YouTube, we're trying to hit 1,000 followers, because like the whole Facebook thing. So find Voice Over Cop on Facebook, and we can get our Facebook streaming privileges back. We used to have it, then they changed the rules. So if you follow us on Voice Over Cop on Facebook, we'd like to get 1,000 followers there too. It's just a thing. By the way, this is a not-for-profit. I don't get paid to be here. The not-for-profit called the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Safety and Education operates to educate the people, and we want to grow. We want to grow. We want to have a team helping to bring traffic safety education across Canada and eventually into the United States, where apparently school buses don't always have to stop. Well, at least the ones in Ohio, or the people don't have to stop when passing school buses. Anyway, it depends. It's more complicated than that. But man, oh man, do people have opinions on that topic? So if you want to support us, you can buy us a coffee at VoiceOver Cop. Buy Me a Coffee is a platform for stuff. You can go to askatrafficcop.ca. There's PayPal links for donations. However you want to contribute, however you want to do it, we would not say no to you. We would take your money. Bonnie and Dave followed. Thanks so much. Tyler Clattenburg says, does a 49cc motor on a bicycle with pedal and illegal? Depends on where you are. In some jurisdictions, that does not require a license or insurance. However, in Ontario, Canada, it does. It's a motorcycle. E-bikes have an exemption. They're motorcycles, no question about it, but they're unregulated if you qualify as an e-bike, which requires you to have a speed no more than 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. That's not that you don't go faster. It's that you're not capable of going faster, that you don't weigh more than 120 kilos, that you have functional pedals. But a 49cc motor, because the law stipulates electric power, well, a 49cc motor is gas. And even if everything else were equal, it would not qualify as per the law in Ontario. Depends on your jurisdiction. So where are you, Tyler? Magdalena says, why is a man getting charged with assault for defending him in his house, himself in his house? I don't know the case you're referring to, but it's possible that person did more than what was required to defend themselves. So you're not in Canada, and we're talking about Canada, I assume, you're allowed to use reasonable force to defend yourself. So as soon as you get to the point where you've used excessive force, you're criminally responsible for your choices. For example, somebody comes into your house and you ask them to leave and they refuse. You can use as much force as necessary to remove them. But if you use more force than is necessary, you're responsible. So let's say you pick them up and throw them out the door and they leave. That could be enough. But if you pummel them to the level of bloody, well, that's probably excessive. It might be what is appropriate in your eyes. However, the law may disagree. We had this discussion last night. If you come into my house, I'm probably going to jail. Just saying. And I'll hire a good lawyer. Dispatcher says, hi, Sean. I hope you're well. I saw another driver yesterday. His car was all black tinted windows. Dispatcher, I'm with you. A lot of illegal tinted windows, and a lot of windshields that are getting tinted recently. And I think, and we were talking about it when I was still a police officer, I think that we have a need to hold tint shops responsible. Yeah. See, right now, the tint shop just either has you sign a waiver, which is meaningless because they're not responsible for what you do with your car. If they put tint on and you tell them that you're not going to drive on the road, what does it matter? It could be a show car. There's no law about putting tint on the window. There's a law about driving with tint on the window. So if you have a tinted windshield, it's entirely prohibited. You cannot have any tint on the windshield. Now, you can have a tint strip across the top, 3 inches, if your vehicle was manufactured before 2017, so 2016 and older. But if it's a current vehicle, 2017 or newer, it cannot have anything on the windshield. And I see tinted windows all over the place. Tint strips too. I don't understand. People say it saves them from being blinded. I'm like, so does sunglasses and visors. But anyway, what do I know? We got Equal Rights says, how many people flee the country after a major collision? People who don't want to be held accountable criminally flee the country all the time. People who are from here and from elsewhere, happens all the time. They know they're on the run. Scott Doyle says, I heard that London and Woodstock police are so desperate for applicants that they eliminated post-secondary prerequisites. I joined the military to give myself a better shot becoming an officer. Is that true that you now only need a high school diploma and to be young as well as physically qualified? Do you have to be young? Somebody in the class that graduated Peel Regional Police yesterday was 46. In my class, there was somebody older than I am now. I think they were 51. And man, I went to that graduation and I was inspired. I'm like, maybe I should rejoin the police. I miss it. But yeah, first of all, age is less of an issue now than ever. In terms of their police service removing the requirement, it was provincially modified like 2 years ago that you don't need a university degree. Where Toronto at one point had added it as a requirement and then took it off. But now the requirement was taken off across the province. And you no longer need to pay for the Ontario Police College. Like I had to pay out of pocket and got reimbursed, whereas now people get the full $15,000 ticket paid for by the provincial government. And Sarah, the Queen, says, good morning, Sean, and good morning to you, Sarah. Scott Doyle's first question, that was his second question. His first question says, I think you missed it, was if there was a 4-line city road and the car is waiting to turn left from inside lane, car on oncoming traffic in inside lane leaves a hole for I'm not picking up what you're putting down, brother. A 4-lane city road and they're waiting to turn left from inside lane, meaning lane 1. Oncoming traffic on the inside lane, meaning car 1, leaves a hole for the car to turn left. But I don't understand your quote. Blinded by the car leaving a hole, left turn car makes the turn. They collide with a car driving through in oncoming outside lane. Okay, I think I've unpacked what you're talking about. There's 4 lanes, 2 in the other direction. Lane 1 is the innermost lane for one direction, and lane 1 of the opposing traffic stops to let the guy make a turn. But he starts making the turn in lane 2, the through lane, the curb lane. It comes through and hits the guy making the left. Who's at fault? The guy turning is, because he's turning, and by virtue of turning, you're responsible. You got to make sure it's completely safe before you make the turn. And stopping for someone to give them a hole is a bad idea. They should find their own hole and move and just let you don't stop necessarily. If it's stop and go traffic, you can stop. But you don't stop in the middle of a busy road to let someone make a turn. That's not okay. Because what you do is you create situations where the next guy hits you or hits them. Okay. So Hockey Dad says he thinks in Alberta, when you're entering a roundabout from the left lane of a multi-lane roundabout, you're required to signal left. That makes sense in a multi-lane. I was really thinking towards a single lane. But if that may be the case, but why? Because it's still a roundabout. I mean, I guess the outside lane of a roundabout goes straight through. Is that why? I'm not sure. I hate roundabouts because they leave so much confusion. They're supposed to be safer, but I'm not a fan. Okay, let me go through. I mean, I like the fact that I don't have to stop for the stop sign because there's no stop sign. That they do allow me to get to where I'm going faster as long as nobody else is around. As soon as you put somebody else into the mix, I don't agree that they are safer. That's what I'm saying. Jake wants to know if he asks a question here, this would be where you ask a question. And then he did. Okay. Let's go back to his question. And Brandon says Nick Off Duty would be a fun guest. Nick Off Duty is awesome. I met him when I was in Florida for the Smile Conference, which I got to follow up with the Smile Conference. I was supposed to speak there, and I don't think I can go now. What do we got here? Jake got pulled over for blocking the road. I was over as far as I could, picking up my grandma to take her to a doctor's appointment. Cars could clearly go past me, and I wasn't there for 2 minutes. So you got a ticket for blocking the entire roadway? Where were you, man? Uh, like, were you in a no parking zone? Because you can still pull over to pick up and immediately load or unload passengers in most jurisdictions. Where it really depends on where you were. And yeah, obviously, it sounds like you've got a defense in my books, but whether or not like what the specific charge was is a question, and what your jurisdiction is. Nicholas Rizzi, we're promoting him. He's a comedian, and he's going to be at the No Filter Comedy Club Sunday, August 24th, 2025. Tickets start $20 and the show starts at 7 p.m. And I plug his shows because he's a funny guy and he deserves an audience, even if I won't be there. Let's see here. Fatty wants to know if he can legally follow a driver while calling the police if I suspect the driver's in front of me is impaired. Can you legally follow them? I mean, when you say follow, there's following to advise the police where they are. But if you're following and they know they're being followed, you may cause a collision. Get their last known direction and identify the vehicle, and you're going to get told by dispatch to stop following them anyway. Take direction from them. But are you legally allowed to follow them? You're putting yourself potentially in a bad spot because you might be involved in the collision with them and they're potentially impaired. I tend to follow impaired drivers at a distance until such time as the police say, you're good. We got enough information. We have nearby units. As a former police officer, even when I was a police officer, I stay a little longer, but I still take direction from dispatch. I wouldn't keep following beyond that because I don't care what happens afterwards. I don't need to see, yes, they were pulled over. They may be going home and they may have officers waiting, and you don't need to be involved in that. Take direction. Do you miss being a cop? I do actually, David. I miss it. I was absolutely a big fan of being a cop. Like I left the job not because I didn't like the job. I left the job because I have stuff that I have to do. That's a priority. But I miss it. And I've talked about going back, but I don't know. We'll see. Hockey Dad says I'm assuming it's OPP told me to try and follow at a DUI. That's why I say take direction from the police dispatch. If they want you to follow because they need to know where this person's going. And it also depends on the severity. Like, is it because, like, why? Like, how severe is it? How much of a risk is it going to be? And if there's going to be a collision that's incoming, but I don't know. If there's going to be a collision in 5 seconds and you have enough distance while you're following to not be involved in that collision, but you can go help people because you're anticipating it's going to happen, then by all means, you have to make your own decision. It has to be for your safety. It's not against the law to follow someone at a distance in that situation. You're not harassing them. You're following them while on the phone with police. King says, can I turn left can I turn left on a red if both roads are one way and I'm going from leftmost lane to leftmost lane? In Ontario, if you're making a left turn on a red light, you are legally permitted to make that turn on a red light. One-way street to one-way street, assuming there's no sign prohibiting it. That is legal in Ontario. It could be different elsewhere. Okay. Scrolling back because it just updated and a whole bunch of stuff came in. Joel Phillip just joined. Hello. If you're watching and for Joel, if you just joined, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And I'm talking about traffic safety and traffic law and police stuff right now. If you got questions, throw them in the chat. We're here for another 10 minutes. Maybe we'll get to your answer or your question and answer your question. What do we got here? Oh, well, a bunch of stuff has been here. The Manny K says, can I ask why failing to signal is not penalized as much as it should be? Because there's a ton of stuff that's not penalized as much as it should be because police have to prioritize issues and they have to witness it. So, if I don't see it, I can't do anything about it. And two, if I'm looking for speeders and you forgot the signal, I'm probably not paying attention to your signal. Like the threshold, if I'm behind you and you do it, yeah, you're there. And maybe I'll pull you over for it. But signaling was, I've maybe written 5 fail to signal tickets. Like, it's really not a thing. It should be, but when we're looking for more like cell phone use, I'm looking for cell phone. I'm looking for the $615 ticket for the person who's going to kill somebody based on their behavior, as opposed to someone who oopsie dood on a signal. It's still wrong, but I mean, I believe in quality over quantity. Anthony says, "What do I need? What is it? Oh, hey Sean, can I ask you a question? What happens if I were to buy a car on Facebook Marketplace and I wanted to drive on the road? What do I need?" Well, you need to transfer ownership, get plates, certify it for the road, and insure it. Insurance being highest on the priority. But if this is your first car you're buying, you need to get it certified. You need to get plates. Now you can get temporary plates if the vehicle's in fit status. And if you're buying it on Marketplace, be careful, be wary. I would buy it certified, and I would still want to take it to my own mechanic, because certifications like driver's license, well, they can be bought, and it's sad. Bauer says, "Why can you not have colored window tint on your vehicle?" You can. However, the amount of color or tinting is regulated. You have to be able to see through the window. If it's just a purple tint, yeah, it looks interesting. But it's not illegal. It's just not permitted to be dark or dark enough that you can't see inside. And it cannot be on the front windshield at all. What is this? Bot says, "People think police should be there to help people. They want them brightly decorated like European." I don't give a crap what people think they need. There are the people, like, you call up the police, they'll come. And there are police who are on patrol that are on brightly marked vehicles. But enforcement units are often dark or subdued or completely unmarked. You don't need to have a European ugly police car. Oh, they're so ugly. Barrie Police did it. Ugly. Who wants a checkerboard pattern on a police car? They're ugly as sin. Now, there's times when I'm closing a road, I want that highly visible vehicle. But if I'm doing enforcement, I don't want to broadcast my location. I want to find the violator, hold them accountable, give them a ticket, and say goodbye, and then go catch the next one. Well, how about this one? If you drive around in your civilian car and you look around, how many vehicles are using their cell phones? How many people are doing dumb stuff that's illegal, that's dangerous? Why would I want them to get away with it? This concept of you need to announce your presence is so pathetic. Comrade Caveman says, "Threats don't change lives, education does." Threats? No, enforcement isn't a threat. Enforcement is consequence. And education is important. That's why I do it. I agree with you. But there's a time for education, and when it doesn't work, enforcement is education. It's just just because someone knows or finds out, oh, gee whiz, doing 150 on the highway is illegal. Boy, I'm glad I'm being educated. No, they know the freaking law. They choose to violate it regardless of their education. The knowledge doesn't change their intent, but the consequences, and not threats, but actual consequences. If it doesn't change their behavior, they got big problems. Mike Delaplante say, "So why do the funds from that not go to a charity?" I don't know what we're talking about. Are you talking about from raising money? Like from tickets? Funds from tickets go to the province to pay for programs, which is kind of like charity. It goes to all the people who pay taxes and who don't pay taxes. Childcare is part of where that goes when they do subsidized childcare. All these things, money from tickets goes places, but it's not like Ronald McDonald House. Do you need a driver's license to drive a scooter in Ontario? If it's a scooter, it needs a motorcycle license, it needs insurance and all that jazz, assuming you're talking about a gas-powered scooter. If you're talking about an e-bike, if it meets the requirements, it does not require a license. But it all depends. I like that. Robert says, education isn't free. I like that. Bot says, most people are only slowing down when they have to. It seems like generally people all want to, I don't know what 90 is. To do 90 maybe? I don't know. Yeah, people only slow down when there's the risk of consequence. Now, I appreciate that if you put a police car at the side of the road, and I had an idea for this. The New York Regional Police started doing it. I tried to get Toronto Police to do it. They're not into it. But I thought you take an old police car and you park it in high risk areas, then you move it around all day. High risk areas. Just the presence of that police car will slow people down. Yes, but you still need a policeman to go and actually give the ticket. You want a distraction car, and there was a police officer cardboard cutout that was being placed all over the city at one point. I think it's great. Slows people down, but you still need to hammer the people that need hammering. 1DKF4 says your insurance premiums also always go up. That $100 ticket has now turned into a monthly subscription. Hopefully, because that's the gift that keeps on giving. If you remember the long-term effects of the 3 years you're paying an increased premium, maybe you'll actually change your behavior. Bot says, want to do 10 over. It's good to want things. Dispatcher says, saw a car all black, heavily tinted in the back license plate, also blacked out. Yeah, that's a thing. Comrade Caveman. I'm assuming a socialist or a communist based on comrade. Just assuming. Trying not to judge you, but yeah. While rich kids just pay it off and continue on. So the suggestion is that rich folk can break the law and just pay it because they can afford it. But the masses, the average working person, they have real impact. But you know what the difference is? Both idiots could not have tickets based on not breaking the law. You don't want tickets if you don't want heavy impact on your lifestyle, and you can avoid it so easily by just not breaking the law. If you don't like the fact that rich kids can pay it off and continue on, well, you can work harder. For one, then you can be the rich kid who doesn't care. But the truth is, they will still care because they're going to pay more and more and more. And eventually, the points will just take away their license. It's not something they can just pay it off and continue on. There's still going to be a threshold for them. However, I am a big fan of what they do in where is it, Norway, where you get a percentage of your income. So if there was a ticket for an executive that was like $125,000 for speeding because they made a lot of money. And I'm all for that. Whatever is dear to you is what we should take. Popular? No, but I think it would be effective. Oh, what a weirdo. Okay. That wasn't referring to Comrade Caveman. I was referring to the other person who, if there's a moderator, you should kick them out for what they said. Hey, can I find them? Maybe I can just kick them out. I won't say their name because I don't want to give them any attention, but man, people think it's appropriate to say some pretty weird stuff. I can't find them easily enough. Well, I'm sure they'll say something stupid again. Let's see here. The Manny K. Can I ask why failing to... Oh, we talked about that. Can I tint my windows in Ontario? Yes, you can, but there's a legal limit. Tracy MF says, with school starting soon, please slow down, especially in school zones. Slow down everywhere. But yes, in school zones where we have those folks who are absolutely at risk. Elderly students, not elderly students. Hey, Mike Harris, TPA. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. School zones and areas where people at risk are crossing and walking. Absolutely. But the truth is we need to be paying attention and driving slower everywhere. We have collisions primarily because people are not following the rules. If they followed the rules, we wouldn't have collisions, would we now? Come on. That's so funny. Comrade Caveman says, because it's easier sitting in your car with a speed radar than to do work. Comrade Caveman, I've lost all respect for you. Whether you are a socialist, a communist, or a capitalist, your comments are asinine. Just saying. What's a traffic cop's favorite kind of sweater? Oh, that's funny. Okay, we'll put that in the after. In the after. Let's put that in here. Flag it for dad jokes. That's good. I like it. I like it a lot. I know I just broadcasted that to the other channels, but I'm going to flag it there. Okay. It's an hour and 3 minutes. Maybe we'll put on for another 10 minutes. Going overtime. I have a question regarding my university giving us partially legal tickets in Nova Scotia. How do you have partially legal tickets in Nova Scotia? So is it parking tickets? Like what kind of tickets can your university issue? STFX oversold overnight parking on purpose by 30% and gave us tickets. Really? Well, that sounds like a lawsuit. I think that's something where you can go talk to a lawyer, class action lawsuit against your university. Now, their tickets are probably just ransom for your diploma. Like York University does that. They give you a ticket. It's not enforceable, but if you don't pay it, you can't graduate, which is disgusting. But anyway, it's another story. Can I get a ticket for running a stop sign on a private property or plaza? Not the stop sign. The stop sign is not enforceable in particular. Like there's no stop sign ticket that can be issued, but you could be charged with careless driving. Careless driving cause bodily harm or death. That's a charge that can be laid on private property along with stunt driving, which could be arguable if you're driving around running stop signs, stunt or potentially stunt, but definitely careless. So there are absolutely charges that you'd be eligible for. Do you see? I didn't even read Katie's comment about saying that they wouldn't get their degree. Yeah, 100%. It's disgusting. I would talk about a class action suit. Don't you have any? They're teaching law. Just get some law students together. Okay. What do we got here? Tracy says it was responding about the fact that if you caused a collision for running the stop sign, it would be your fault. But now, since the beginning of the year, it's a new thing. I think it's the beginning of this year where they can charge careless. Mom and Alberta says first ticket ever distracted, red light, proof of not texting, calling. I felt it was an emergency. Sorry, I'm confused. You got a ticket for distracted and you felt it was an emergency, but you were not texting or calling. So what were you doing if it was an emergency? I don't understand. Cop fabricated the ticket saying traffic was heavy and it was not. We were the only two at the red, according to his own words. Ah. Okay. So I need to know more about, maybe we'll get Logan Grant, who's an enforcement officer in Brooks, Alberta. So to key into that, but yeah, like fight it. If you're saying that there is a justified reason for having it, like what is the condition of distracted? My understanding is it's regardless of whether or not you have lots of cars or few cars. Actually, here let's see. Now I'm really curious. Hang on a second. I'm gonna look some stuff up. I'm gonna look up stuff. I gotta wrap up the show very shortly though. I do have places to be, and I still have to read dad jokes. Okay. No, never supposed to have silence, but on the air. But I'm thinking. What are the elements of the offense of driving distracted in Alberta? Handheld device, section 115.1, sub 1. You must not drive or operate a vehicle on a highway while simultaneously holding, viewing, or manipulating a cellular, telephone, radio communication device, or any other communication device capable of transmitting or receiving phone calls, texts, emails, or electronic data. Holding, viewing, or manipulating. And they go on to holding, viewing, manipulating any handheld, wireless, or electronic device. So it's an additional layer. The exception is you may use a cell phone or radio in hands-free mode activated by voice or single touch. There's also limited exemptions for an emergency or employment context for certain users. I need to know more. And I'm interested to know whether or not you qualify for any of those exemptions. So email me, voiceovercop@gmail. I'd love to look at that and deep dive into your ticket because I'm interested in stuff like that. Send me an email. Dispatcher says, Sean, please answer the question. I don't know which question we're at. We were talking about your tint, but I've lost you. Did we not talk about that already? Okay. Fungi says, I got a ticket for expired car ownership. If I renew my ownership, will they drop the ticket? You are committing the offense at the moment. They may or may not drop it, but you committed the offense at the time. It's possible that they could, if you renew it, they could drop it, but that's up to them. It is an unknown. Hey, if you're watching, my name is Sean Shapiro, and you're catching the tail end of the show. I'm about to sign off in the next few minutes. And this show started at 10 a.m. on Eastern time on Wednesday, because today's Wednesday. And I do this on Wednesdays during the summer at 10 a.m. and Tuesdays at 9 p.m. for After Dark. It's a thing I started. It's kind of neat. And we may or may not go to 5 days a week again. We're going to see what we can do. I'd like to go back into more frequent shows, but I do have a lot of content that I want to put up, and that's kind of cool. Bot says dogs in the front seat can be distracted driving. In Alberta, maybe, but not in Ontario. Dogs in front seat can get severely injured. Could be careless driving. Could be drive while crowded, depending if they're interacting with the owner, the driver. But in Alberta, I'm sure that distracted driving would qualify for dogs. Actually, let's look at this. Actually, let's go on to say, GPS navigation systems, you must not use a GPS navigation system while driving unless it was pre-programmed before you began driving or is being used with voice activated manner. That makes sense. But I like these general distracting activities. It prohibits engaging in distracted behaviors such as reading or viewing printed material other than the permitted instruments and gauges, writing, printing, or sketching. You'd think that would be a given. Personal grooming, hygiene, putting on makeup or brushing teeth. Makeup I've seen, brushing teeth, I've never seen that on the road. Any other activity that distracts the driver from operating the vehicle safely. That's a catch-all. It is truly a catch-all. Pets or obstructive items. Anything interfering with the controls or vision that may lead to a charge. And it's police discretion. That's very interesting. Okay. There we are. There we've done. Okay, moving along. Have you ever heard of a driver given a distracted ticket who was parked engine off side of the road? No. You can't get it. Now, I've had stories, and we talked about a situation in Saskatchewan where a guy drove into a parking lot, claims to have picked up his McDonald's app to order, but the reality is he was caught by a motor officer on the road, and he wasn't pulled over till he was on private property. He wasn't parked at the time; he was approaching the drive-through. But there's the thing. Speeding tickets give you demerits in Manitoba, correct? I think all provinces have a demerit point system that would allow them to track the behavior of a driver and determine whether or not they need to have corrective measures. Sammy wants to know what the time limit for waiting for a court case is on a speeding ticket. It's been over a year and a half. I think it was where it was expanded to. It used to be 12 to 18 months. It was longer during COVID. I don't think they ever went back. Godfather says, I listened to you on 1010 CFRB with Jerry Agar. And that's where I go. That's my most frequent radio spot with Jerry. I love going on the show. Matthew Tassos says, if I'm driving behind an impaired driver, is that an exception to call 911 while driving? Any emergency is an exemption in Ontario to drive or to call 911 while driving. So it is one of those things. If you have to call for an emergency, that's not to call home to find out if mom fed the dog. It's to call for medical or police or fire. Those are all legitimate reasons to get an exemption. And obviously we can track that. If you say, you get pulled over while you're on the phone or because you're on the phone, you say, I was calling 911. Really? We have records of that. So if you did that, if you're going to use that excuse, best be a real one. Timmy Turner says, if I'm drinking and driving and get pulled over, do I refuse the breath test? First of all, don't drink and drive. That's a dumbass move. But secondly, if you refuse the breath test, you're doing police a favor because then we charge you criminally for refused breath test. It's much easier to get a conviction, and the consequence of refusal of a breath test is the same as if you failed it. Who'd have thunk? And Ryan says, Timmy Turner, just don't drink and drive, dog. And yeah, Ryan follows up to say, if you refuse, you run the risk of getting your car impounded or having to do a blood test later. Just the refusal alone, it's bingo bango. And you can still be charged for impaired if they have sufficient, cause or call to lay that charge. Impaired in addition to the refuse. Okay, they need apparently more Brampton police. I mean, they have to hire some. Okay. Got that. Nicholas Rizzi says, when I'm bored, I drive my dad's plain white Ford car to a spot, park it, roll down the window, put my 80 sunglasses on, and pull up my wife's black hair dryer and watch everyone that drives by slow down to a crawl. Am I a hero, or is this my villain arc story? I think it's awesome. It's may possibly be impersonating a police officer, but you're doing the public a service, aren't you? No, come on. So Brandon at the beginning of the show said that he got rear-ended, and his brand new Corvette had $23,000 to $30,000 in damage. And I just realized that my chair has been gradually getting lower as I think there's a leak in the gas shock. Anyway, the person who hit him in his brand new Corvette, causing up to $30,000 in damage, had no insurance. Straight to jail. That person needs to go to jail. Absolutely. Are rideshare drivers allowed to use their phones to accept rides? No, they're not allowed to use their phones. They're still phones. They're civilians. They got to pull over. They got to wait for a call. They can accept and go. Bot says, when I get pulled over, I'll just yell out the window. Sean Shapiro said it's okay and drive away. What on earth would that help? First of all, people who have been arrested have said, but I watched Sean Shapiro, and my buddies who are arresting them have a giggle, and then they say, well, then you should have known better because Sean would have told you. Not a defense. Just means that you are going to, expect to be knowledgeable or expected to be knowledgeable. What do we got here? Gavin Wright says, love your beard, dog. Well, thank you very much. I'm still, this is now a couple of modifications, a couple of trims, some badass beard oil from Boondocks Beard Co. And yeah, it's a year in the making this to be like this. And I'm enjoying it. Although I think about, do I trim it? Is it time to trim? Or do I cut it off? Do I have a shave and show people my face again? I don't know. I can't decide. Discussion about castle law. What is this? 1DKF4 sent me an email. I'll check it out. Mike says, why would I stop for unmarked vehicle? How do I know it's not a psychopath? Well, how do you know it's an unmarked vehicle? I got news for you. When you're in front of the vehicle, they all look the same. They have flashing lights and you really can't tell. You're not going to interview the officer. And if you don't stop, you're going to end up with a pursuit and a takedown. And it's going to be real uncomfortable when you're wearing handcuffs. Call 911 if you're concerned that it's a psychopath and say, I'd like to verify that the vehicle pulling me over is in fact a police officer. If that's something you're concerned about, a legitimate concern, otherwise you're going to get charged for, misuse of 911 services, but that's another story. What is this? Bacon says, cops are evil. They let other cops and their families off for DUI and speeding. No, they don't. We arrest people who are DUI. I've arrested the child of a police officer for DUI. You have no idea what you're talking about, but I love the fact you bring it up because it allows me to bring up the fact that you're wrong and from experience. Now, speeding, could you get a break for being a cop or a family member of a cop or a member of the general public? We give breaks to everybody. Dingleberry, Bacon. You're a shameful use of your name. Bacon is usually a reference to police, and I like bacon. And you, I don't like so much because you're wrong. Do all police officers wear a body camera now? Almost all, not all. I think there's few who don't from certain units that they're mostly administrative. I never wore one. Okay. To all that gave gifts, thank you. For all who followed, thank you very much. For all who shared, I appreciate you. What does JJ say? JJ says, at the end of the day, people will drive with license anyway. With no license. Yes, I hear you. Laws are really managing honest people. Bad people who don't think the sociopaths who think the laws don't apply to them, they'll do what they want regardless. Flynn wants to know what I think about front plate laws. Is why does Ontario have them but other provinces don't? I think everyone should have front plates. And the reason I believe that is because it's twice the chances of being able to identify a vehicle. And if someone is stealing vehicles or running from police, it's just more opportunity to track that vehicle. And that's what the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, when the premier asked for advice, that was the advice they got. Why is removing mufflers illegal? Because it's freaking noisy and nobody wants to hear your stinky car. That's why. And it has to reduce smoke as well. It's just, there's no good reason to have no muffler. Just found out the car I bought had its odometer rolled back. Is it too late to report? It's never too late to report. And hopefully it wasn't curbsided where they never owned the vehicle and it was the previous owner. But yeah, definitely go and report it. The body of OMVIC. Call OMVIC. And Raphael Sutherland is a volunteer firefighter in Ontario in our First Nation community. Is it illegal to have amber lighting? Amber, yellow strobes? No, it's not illegal. That's actually a color you can have in all directions. It's perfectly legit. However, if you're a volunteer firefighter and you have the qualifications to have the green light to the front is the courtesy light to tell people to get out of your way. Is it illegal to drive without a hood? I got to go get a new hood and front bumper. Front bumper, I believe, and Melody, if she's here, could confirm, but you need a front bumper as part of safety. A hood also required as part of safety. What do you do if someone brakes checks you? Try and avoid hitting them, leave appropriate space, and call police because that's stunt driving. It's aggressive and stunt driving. Is it legal? We talk about that. I tried to pay a parking ticket online. I was already increased amount, no chance to pay original. Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know so, but I would assume so. Augie says, someone scraped my car pretending to be me. What should I do? Someone scraped my car pretending to be me? What do you mean they pretended to be you? I don't understand how they pretended. I don't understand the context of that. Is white underglow illegal? Yes, because you can't project white light to the rear. Well, it depends. Are the bulbs visible or is it really tucked up way high under the car? Oh, someone scrapped your car pretending to be me. Call police. Someone stole your car. That's how I take that. They scrapped it. They had your vehicle destroyed, claiming to be you when it was yours. And yeah, I would call police. Someone stole your vehicle. That's a big deal. How can police rate a ticket for a deleted pickup truck? Are they mechanics too? Oh, yeah. They're not mechanics, although some of them are. We have many mechanics. But if you deleted the exhaust and we look underneath and go, ain't no exhaust, that's a pretty simple defect. And you have an onus to prove otherwise. We make the allegation, you have the onus. You have the onus to prove that we're wrong. What if a bee gets on my car while I'm driving, I get out in traffic and put on my hazards on? Is it a ticket? If you safely do it. But I mean, I had a friend of mine stop at an intersection and run screaming like his hair was on fire because he was terrified of being stung because he's allergic. I assume he's allergic. If not, he's just silly. But anyway, could you get a ticket for that? Yeah, it's totally irresponsible. Do they bother with deleted pickup trucks if you're not rolling coal? Deleted anything. Like if you have a vehicle that does not meet the emission standards, yeah, you can expect a ticket. If I'm not wearing a helmet on an e-bike, can I just claim to be Sikh? No, you can claim whatever you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to avoid a ticket. All right, we got to the end, and a little bit overtime, 120. We're going to end up in another hour and a half show, which is not. It's kind of par for the course. I tend to go long, but we'll do the dad jokes and then we'll say goodbye, and then I'll be back. Oh, I'm allergic to bees, so I'm just wondering because, listen, life and death situation. It's a defense in court. If you're legitimately allergic to bees, I get it. Have an EpiPen also. That's a pretty good thing. And don't hurt anybody. If you did that and caused a collision, expect to be charged, regardless of whether or not you're allergic to bees. Drummer Cody says, "Hi Sean, I'm in a small town. Can anything be done about heavy trucks coming through town?" You need to talk to your town leaders. You know, like you talk to your council people, and they could potentially have routes that are no trucks, so you don't have people crossing through with heavy trucks. If they have business there, then it would be a legit reason to be there. They can't stop a delivery truck from delivering equipment. But if they're using it as a cross through and they're impacting the community, then yeah, bring it up and to council and so on. And you're very welcome. And oh my goodness, someone says, "Why would you buy a house on a truck route?" Okay, everywhere is a truck route at some point. They make new roads, they divert people. Anyway, moving on. Dad joke. What's the only thing that flat earthers fear? Sphere itself. The only thing that fear is fear itself. It's fear itself. It's actually very good. I commend you. That's a good joke. Is it a new calendar? Okay, dad joke. Why can you use disposable masks to brew espresso? Because they're coffee filters. It's about all they're good for. Coffee filters. That's freaking awesome. Okay. Someone just threw potassium chloride at me. That's assault. it's also very good. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Akeli. He says, "You have a face for radio. I've been told that I have a face." What is this? Sorry, you have a voice for radio. He's being told that he has a face for radio. He didn't mean it as a joke, but he's a funny guy. Nicholas Rizzi, the comedian who's got a show coming up. I don't have the show on screen anymore, but what is money laundering and why is it illegal? Who's it really hurting? Is this another one of my questions above your pay rate? Not a dad joke, just a funny statement question from Nicholas, who asks silly things. Are we actually putting it in the laundry machine? Like we know. Well, yeah, we're moving on. A quote: "Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm." Sir Winston Churchill. I like good quotes. And we talked about Nick off duty. Dad joke. Job interviewer, thanks for coming in today. Could you please describe yourself in 3 words? Applicant, lazy. Describe yourself in 3 words. The answer, lazy. I like it. It's actually good. It's like the shirt that I can't remember, but I like it a lot. It's a shirt that I like that I can't remember that I will tell you another day. Okay. I don't want to ruin the shirt by trying to guess it and feel miserably. What's a traffic cop's favorite kind of sweater? A pullover. I like it. I like it a lot. Listen, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff all the time. And guess what? This is the end of the show. I'll be back on Tuesday at 9 p.m. for Ask a Traffic Cop After Dark. And if you send me messages, I'll be trying to answer them by email or by other means. And if you, what else can I tell you about? If you want to come back on Wednesday, I'll be here again next Wednesday. It's a thing. And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police, go check out www.tps.ca/careers. On that page, you can find out all sorts of useful information about the jobs that we're looking to hire people for. If you go to civilian roles, there's a lot of stuff you probably don't even know about. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of positions there. Okay, right now, communications operator and project leader in the digital team. Both of those are great. You don't have to wear a uniform. So, it's a thing. Have a great day. Drive safe, drive sober, and park legally, or Aaron Urquhart will look for you.